This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Can you hear me?
Now, broadcasting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to Radio Free Los Angeles with the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee, Mike Alexander, and America's funniest reporter, Carl Kozlowski.
Well, all right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural broadcast of Radio Free Los Angeles, a program dedicated to the principles of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. This is citizen-sponsored radio coming to you from AM Station 870 in Glendale, California. And hello to everybody. My name is Mike Alexander, and yes, I am the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee. We're based in Pasadena. I'm going to be your host in the coming weeks, along with my genial co-host here, Carl Kozlowski. Sometimes he's genial.
That's one way to put it.
Part-time comedian and full-time Los Angeles journalist, and used to be associated with the Radio Titans. So
I still am, actually. I run it. Yeah.
All right.
RadioTitans.com.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, we've got a lot of territory to cover with you folks, and we'll fill in bit by bit in the future. You'll hear a little bit more about Carl as we go. We're going to be on 1 hour a week on Sunday nights from here on out. There's a lot to get to, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I think you're going to like what we're doing here tonight. You're going to have a lot of questions, and I would like you to call in and ask those questions or give us your reaction to what we're doing. And for those of us who are just joining us here on Radio Free Los Angeles, I want to give you the toll-free call-in number. That is 1-866-870-KRLA. That's 5752. Once again, 1-866-870-KRLA or 5752. You know, there are a lot of folks to recognize and thank for everything that we've done here tonight, and I could spend easily the next half hour doing that. We don't want to do that, so what we're going to do is to recognize people who have contributed and helped and been involved in various of our endeavors throughout the show. We're only going for 1 hour tonight, so we want to get started. First of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're trying to do here tonight. The first thing that I mentioned was that we are citizen-sponsored radio. So although all you advertisers out there are certainly welcome to advertise in this space, our principal source of support is our contributors. We have a large network. We hope that network gets larger. We hope that that includes you. And over the space of this hour and future hours, we are going to make clear to you that it is your responsibility and that only we, the citizens, are actually going to make any difference at all in this game. Certainly the old-fashioned politics here in the state of California have failed utterly for all the reasons that you know and I know, but I'm going to go into them a little bit different and try to show you how politics really works in this state and how and what we need to do to change things. We're going to bring on some calls and give you a series of updates on the issues that we've been working on. Later on in the show, I'm going to call attention to a very serious situation in the city of Ventura, or the city of San Buenaventura, as its official name is recorded here in this state. The city is working, I would say conspiring with an organization called California Recycle. And what they are doing to the Thomas Fire hillside homeowners is absolutely scandalous and unforgivable. We'll go into that in some detail later on. So if you happen to be one of the victims of those Thomas Fires up there in the Ventura hillsides, be sure to stand by and call in to see if you have any kind of experience to contribute to us. It is really an outrageous situation. Let me talk to you, first of all, about what our focus is here, what we are and what we are not. Yes, we are, at least nominally, a talk show. That is, we're talking about issues. But we are not just another talk show. There are many great ones out there. People do a great job on these shows. They are, however, almost universally nationally focused. And for reasons that I'll talk to you about here in a few minutes, we de-emphasize and to the extent that we can put aside what is going on and what I call the federal follies here at the federal level to focus instead on these local and statewide issues, which are huge. We're going to talk about what's going on in the cities, especially the burgeoning pension crisis.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
We've talked many times, Carl, and many people, especially members of TPAC and the California Tax Limitation Committee, have heard about this many times. What many people out there listening don't realize is that in the state of California, there are about 1.8 million state, local, and federal workers. And about 1 million of them are state and local workers. Most of these people belong to unions and contribute a vast amount of money to the operation of political parties. Most of that goes to the Democrat Party, but a lot of it also goes to Republicans who don't vote with us, the people, either. You will find that this is not a partisan program. We are not oriented to the politics of the Democrat or the Republican Party, either one. We're focused instead on the issues that matter most to those of us here in the state of California. Let's give you a little bit of background about who we are and where all of this started. Although we're sponsored by the California Tax Limitation Committee, which I have the pleasure and privilege of leading in Pasadena, when we started, we were part of the broader Tea Party movement in California and throughout the United States that began in early 2009 with the election of you-know-who, Barack Obama. Like most of you, we were alarmed and appalled by his election. We became even more alarmed and more appalled when the Democrats took both houses of Congress in 2010 and proceeded to pass that disaster we call Obamacare. Our fears were then and still are fully justified. Like most conservatives, we believed that the best way to turn the situation around was to elect the so-called right candidates, quote unquote. Because there were no conservative free market Democrats, we had little choice but to support Republican candidates. But we certainly learned that this path, too, was futile. The reality was that the Republican Party was dead in this state. It was useless and still is as a vehicle for making the changes that we need to make in this state. Surging Democrat registration and the passage of Prop 14, you'll remember that. That's the so-called top two. Put the GOP in ICU. And, of course, Prop 14 actually put them in the grave. And that's where they are right now. And nobody in this state has a plan for restoring any kind of balance in the legislature. And that assumes, of course, that you believe that the Republicans, such as they are, actually have the ability, the inclination, or the willingness to actually become that balance in the state legislature. I don't believe that they are. But in any event, by the end of the 2012 election, we had gotten out of the candidate business and began to focus on becoming the great initiative machine. And that was based upon our realization, as we discussed just a few seconds ago, that we really could not retake the legislature in time to make the changes that we need to make in this state. Number two, the partisan divide between Republicans and Democrats was so great that no one was listening to each other. All you have to do is put that R, put that D behind a name, and the conversation stops. And that's just at the Thanksgiving table. No one wants to talk with each other. We finally agreed that despite vast and deep disagreements about party, that R and that D, we felt that Californians could agree on a lot of issues, even if they disagreed about party. Now, the parties don't want this kind of conversation to happen. There are people who run both sides of the parties that are convinced that we're better off making enemies out of each other than working with each other. I don't think that we can work together in the context of of party on these major issues, and that triggers the need to develop a different nonpartisan way to fix California. And there was only one strategy that could accomplish this, and that was to do an end run around a failed party system and an obstructionist legislature, and they still are today. And that involved for us the strategic, systematic, aggressive use of the local and statewide initiative system. Right now, we've got about 30 seconds to go before our break comes up. Carl, you want to tell them where to reach us and how, what number?
Absolutely. So call in throughout the show at 866-870-KRLA, which is 5752. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, great. You said that sober. All right. Thanks, Carl.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
All right, we're back with you. This is Mike Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles, coming to you from the studios of KRLA in Glendale, California.
And I'm Carl Kozlowski, and happy to be joining Mike here. And again, we want to remind people to call in to 866-870-5752. And so, Mike, I think that we've got a pretty interesting name. There's a lot of history behind Radio Free, this and that. So, how did you come up with the idea for Radio Free Los Angeles?
Well, it's a good question. It was one of those things, as compared to all the bad questions you often ask.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna be putting my foot in my mouth quite a few times.
Right?
Yeah.
No. We just for the audience, we want to be a little irreverent here. Our opening was kind of formal, and we're going to get into a lot of detail and do some tough talking. But in between, we want to have a little fun. Carl and I are good friends. We throw it around quite a bit and have a little fun. And his roots are in comedy. I used to go out and do some of his some of the shows with him. A lot of fun meeting those Hollywood people. The comedians are funny people. That's what they do, and they're a lot of fun to be around. But back to Radio Free Los Angeles, it's a play on words. It means a lot to certain people, people of a certain age.
Sure.
And I'm one of those guys, like a lot of you out there, who grew up in the 50s, and we remember well Radio Free Europe. And this was a radio station, a regular broadcast that was sponsored by the United States government, and believe it or not, run out of the State Department, if you can believe that. Compared to what we have today, it was run out of there, and it was designed to be a voice of truth and an advocate for freedom. Really, back then, free men, free markets, not too different from what we have now. And it was designed to bypass and circumvent all of the propaganda that characterized the communist system in Russia and Eastern Europe.
Well, kind of like what we're doing now, circumventing the communist propaganda coming out of the rest of the media, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
We find ourselves constantly, at odds. So it's a little play on words, a little bit of tongue in cheek, but not too much. And it's designed to accent and accentuate and emphasize the fact that we really are in a very hostile political environment here, and we are just as much the opposition as the Patriots were in Eastern Europe. But like them, we can actually survive this system. They knew then what we know now, and that is the truth of collectivism, the truth of totalitarian governments. They don't work. They can't keep a single one of their promises. They're destructive, and they demand total control over your mind, your body, and most importantly, your money.
I grew up hearing it. My dad was from Poland. He suffered through all of it, all my relatives on his side. And so I'm happy to be, bringing back that whole spirit here with you.
Exactly. Well, it's great. And we have to get the word out.
Sure.
We have another problem on the conservative side, and that is a very nationally oriented media. Here at this wonderful station, for example, you've got a lot of great people who are broadcasting here. They have to be much more nationally oriented to develop and market a syndicated program. I'm not here to build a career around broadcast. We're here for a highly specific purpose, and that is to facilitate the things that we're doing politically here in Los Angeles and throughout the state of California.
Sure.
That's our business. I'm not knocking anybody else's business. Far from it. I'm a dedicated listener of this station, particularly of Mark Levin. We all know and love Dennis Prager, Hugh Hewitt, Michael Medved, a whole bunch of people on here. So please don't take anything as being critical of them. I'm just identifying how we're different, what it is that we're going to be doing that's different. So thanks for the question and the opportunity to do it. And the comparison to Eastern Europe really ought to sustain us, because 20 or 30 years ago, well, make it 30 or 40 years ago, none of us would have predicted the rise of John Paul II.
Yep.
None of us would have predicted the success of Lech Walesa and the Solidarity movement, or what was it, Solidarność?
Solidarność,
Yeah. And nobody would have predicted, and now some of our staunchest allies in the fight against communism and in the fight against Islamism and a disintegration of Europe are to be found in those very Eastern European countries.
Yeah.
And, folks, this is probably as good a time as any for me to explain why we are doing this here in Southern California, and of all places, why Los Angeles, excuse me, why Los Angeles County? Well, as one of the most famous Marines, Chesty Puller, said, all he wanted to know is, where are they at? Where's the enemy? Well, it's right here. The enemy's here. The problem is here. But there are a ton of people here in Los Angeles County who actually believe us, agree with us, and are trying to work toward these objectives, but have no idea how all of that is going to happen. Now, we're going to go. I think we have one telephone call from Basil in Glendale. Is anybody able to put him through? Something tells me.
He's on.
Are you there, Basil?
I'm here.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, Carl.
Hey, Basil.
Yeah, this is a good friend. Do you mind if we identify you by your last name, Basil?
Please do.
All right.
I like the publicity.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell us? Is Basil Hoffman, star of stage, screen, and television, a legend in his own mind and that of others, a great actor and a great patriot, a great supporter of all of this. Basil, what comment or question would you like to pose?
Well, first, Mike, I want to congratulate you and Carl on this show.
Nice.
Long overdue, by the way, for a show like this that is so oriented to the local issues. And I think that I would love for you to spend some time talking about your successes in Pasadena and Glendale, and you've had some.
Yes.
And I don't want to take a lot of time here. I really called to congratulate you, but I really do want you to talk about the things that you have succeeded at, because it would be good for people to know. And I would like to tell you what my one pet peeve is.
Yes.
We could control this state, and by that I mean the Republicans could control California if they voted.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding. Everybody just has the tendency to think it's so hopeless that they stay home, and then they just compound the problem.
Yep.
You know?
Correct.
Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Mike, I just want to say that
Yes.
you do wonderful work, and congratulations on your wonderful work. And talk about it a little bit so that people will know that what you aim to do is also what you're succeeding at.
Yes.
And I wish you guys a happy new year and a successful run with your show.
Thank you.
Basil, thank you so much for everything that you've done. Basil has supported us at every level possible, and we look forward to continuing our relationship, Basil. Thank you so much for calling in. Now, since Basil raised the issue, let us talk about our successes and talk to you about what it is that we did over the last several years. And I want to pick up where I left off about the initiative strategy here. I know some of this is a bit didactic, going through kind of a complex history. And, if you're not taking notes, don't worry. We're going to come back to it time after time and create a context because there's some of this, some of what we're doing is intuitive, other things not so intuitive. So to pick up where we left off, we concluded that the only way that we were going to take this state back or have any chance of getting any of the big things done in this state was going to be through the aggressive and systematic and strategic use of the initiative program, both local and statewide. This started in about 2012. We started off on a local basis. This was our particular analysis, and what we did was to focus on utility taxes, utility user taxes. These are a particularly onerous and irksome tax that cities impose on everything, on the internet signal, on the telephone signal, your cell phone, your electricity, your gas, your water, which often they hit you double on. They run a water company like right here in Glendale, and then tax you on top of it. And some of you, your bureaucrats out there, disagree. You're free to call in and give us the particulars. But the bottom line is that this utility tax runs anywhere from 7 to 10% and is designed to generate revenue on top of revenue. And these people have the gall to raise your utility rates and then take another bite with their utility tax. So we thought that the best way to raise awareness of the wasteful spending habits and the high cost of government salaries and benefits in these cities was to go after their money. Because unless and until you and I go to these cities and to the states and every place else and start taking our money back, these guys aren't going to learn anything. They just sit there and they'll read your letters and your faxes. This is what I call letters to tyrants, faxes to tyrants, emails to tyrants, walking in front of tyrants' offices. The only thing these people understand is, of course, taking their money back or our money back. That's what we have to do, and that is the absolute key to this thing. So we use that as a way to highlight these problems. We went into Glendale. We qualified a UUT repeal. It went down, but it succeeded in raising the issues. And there's a couple of guys that we're going to give a shout out to and recognize here. The guys in Glendale here. We'll get to them over the next segment here where we want to talk to them. But these guys were very very effective in raising consciousness. And over in Glendale, 10,000 people voted with us to repeal the UUT. And what was most important is that it brought the community together. The Glendale Community Association, the Glendale Coalition for Better Government, I think is their name, used that UUT as part of their overall organization effort and bounced off of that to go out and elect two people, two more sympathetic people. That was huge. And I'm going to talk to you about the crime that Glendale is over there when we come back. We will also talk about the qualification of a similar repeal that went on the ballot over in Arcadia, and two important repeal efforts that are coming up. One in Sierra Madre in April, and the other in November. Once again, here we're going to go to break. We're going to take a few calls when you get back. Please call us at
866-870-5752.
You get the prize. Thanks,
KRLA.
Carl. All right.
This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Can you hear me?
Now, broadcasting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to Radio Free Los Angeles with the president of the California Tax Limitation Committee, Mike Alexander, and America's funniest reporter, Carl Kozlowski.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Carl, what's the number? If you want to get involved with our program, Carl's going to tell you where to call.
866-870-5752. KRLA is 5752.
Thank you very much. And for those of you who have Facebook and want to watch us live or check in to see the other things we have, particularly to contribute to Radio Free Los Angeles, you can go to your Facebook and just type in radiofreela.us, radiofreela.us, and that'll let you connect. We have a caller here. Let's lead off with the call, and we have Dave. I don't know. Where are you from, Dave? This is Mike Alexander. Welcome to Radio Free Los Angeles.
Hi, Mike. I'm from Whittier, but I'm in Orange County today.
Uh-huh.
You answered my question. What do you think should be done? And the thing is in the face of the fact that the Democrats are causing high crime through AB 109, Prop 47, and high homelessness, and lowering our quality of life and endangering our lives by their policy of increasing crime, we need to get that message out to the citizen, okay?
Yes.
And you answered my question as to what you think you should do, but what should we do more? What should we do? I believe I have answers. We need to get that message out, what I just said, to the voters themselves, Democrat, Republican. I think that the Democrats are history. And even in light of this sanctuary bill, state bill, I think if we – see, I heard a Republican on air last year say Republicans win on crime. I believe it's all in our hands. The Democrats have given us everything to win, but we've just got to get the Republican Party of California to message it.
Well, yeah, you've raised everything in the kitchen sink in your call, in your question, and they're all important things, Dave. Let's try to break this down and start it one by one. What is the single most important thing that we can do in this state? The single most important thing that we can do in this state is school choice, and I'll tell you why. Everything that we do, everything that we say is soon contradicted and undone the next morning in the classroom. I will tell stories here as we go on about how we have utility user repeal elections coming up, and lo and behold, guess what goes home in the go-home bag at the Glendale public schools? Propaganda from the city telling you about how your dog's going to die or something like that. If we take money away from these fat cat bureaucrats, we have to get control of our children back. Those children belong to you, they belong to me, they belong to parents. They do not belong to the government. And what they do is they take these children of all races, all nations, all ethnicities, all religions, and they put them into the church of the state. It's nothing but an organized religion, a pagan religion at that, in which you send your children there, and they teach your children to hate you and to disagree with you. We bring in children from all around this world, and at great expense, refugees, you name it. America brings them here. You and I bring them here. And what's our plan for making them Americans? Oh, well, we turn them over to the public so-called school, so-called system, and they teach them. They don't teach them how to read. They teach them how to hate you and me. They tell them that we're the problem. The Republicans are the problem. So the Republican Party, by the way, you heard me talk before, is not a particular solution because as an institution, it is so broken. That's going to be up to you and me, Dave, and other citizens who agree with you and me to take action through the initiative system so that we act as the legislature of the people. We have to go after and get our children back. Now, that has an important secondary effect. The teachers in that system who are given, and I'm going to go into the school choice proposal, probably not this week, but we'll talk about it next week. The teachers in that system will leave. They will organize new schools, will now have more money in private enterprise under private direction and family direction, and we will have fewer union members. Now, the one thing that, I talked to you earlier here about how there's 1.8 million federal, state, and local people. Well, a big chunk of those people are the California so-called Teachers Association. And each one of those teachers there contributes $1,000 a year to the union dues.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Right.
It's just like,
wow.
I mean, you hear that they're not making that much sometimes anyway, and then they have to give $1,000 to build out the brainwashing kind of message. Yeah,
right. And and even if you went to one of their schools you can't add very well, you can whip out your Obama phone to do the math, and that comes to $350 million per year, $700 million every 2 years, $1.4 billion every 4 years.
Wow.
Do you see? But David, what we have there, and I think I may have lost you there, but what we have here is it's not so much what they do, it's what we don't do. We have no comparable organization on this side. So one of the things that does not help is listening to talk radio per se. That's great for the talk show hosts. It's really great for the stations. But it does not in and of itself solve anything. What we have to do is to get involved in local initiatives that puts the enemy on defense and puts us on offense. Attack their salaries, attack their budgets, attack their outrageous benefits, attack the so-called pension system that can't be paid with these terrible debts that we have in these cities. Those are some of the things that we have to do. Now, what the reason why we're on here, so I can hear Carl clicking away. So hey, so you just got through Attack and Talk Radio. So what in the world are you doing behind that microphone there, Mike, moron?
Yeah, Mike. What is that about?
Okay, what is it all? Well, it begins with getting connected. We can't do any of this stuff if we're not at least coming together. It's not so much listening to this fine station. That's why we're here, is because you're there. But we have to take the next step and do something. And that is the key issue. We have things to do here in the state of California. Now I'll give you one. You want to know what can be done? Everybody knows about that nonsense gas tax increase, because of the actions of our federal government. One of the few good things they've done, they finally helped to bring down the overall production cost of oil. Now, that had two negative effects. Number one, it reduced the taxes coming in from that, and they didn't like that. But when the government perked up and saw that they might be able to steal some more money, they say, hey, those profits, you just go to the oil companies, we can grab those profits. These chumps in the state of California, these sheep, are used to paying all these high prices for gas, so we just apply a tax and we'll take it for ourselves. Well, some great people got together. One of them is Carl DeMaio. Carl, if you're listening, congratulations. You go guy down there. They sponsored this gas tax repeal. The required number of signatures is 365,000 because of the low voter turnout in the last gubernatorial election. And those guys have already obtained over 500,000. So if you want to get involved in obtaining signatures to repeal this gas tax, this odious gas tax, then you can go to radiofreela.us or radiofreela.net, which is one of our websites, and you can find out what you could do. You can get where to go, how do you get signatures. So if you're not doing anything, we can get it. You can get involved and take meaningful action. We'll talk more about how you start local tax initiatives within your city to repeal taxes, fees, charges, and assessments. I'll bet you guys didn't know, because I didn't know until I looked in on it. But under the California's Constitution, it only takes valid signatures from 5% of the number of people who voted in the last municipal election to put an initiative on the ballot. And this, Carl, when you were talking about earlier,
that's like nothing in most cities. It's pretty. It shouldn't be that hard to do, and that's why it's smart for you to be jumping in and doing this.
Right. There are some cities whose local voter turnout were so low in their last election that it only takes maybe a few hundred valid signatures to attack. Only takes a few hundred valid signatures to attack one of their precious taxes. We'll go take their money away from them. So quit whining and crying and calling in or writing in or blogging or whatever. Get yourself a clipboard. Go collect some signatures. We can show you how to do that. And in our next segment, I'm going to talk to you about how we have been doing that, and I will get to Ventura. So we've got 30 seconds right now. I want to do some shout-outs to people who send us good notices, and mostly money. Bernadine in Pasadena, Cynthia in Pasadena, Douglas in Lakewood, Russ in Big Bear Lake, Mr. Raub in Arcadia, and Mulliton in Pasadena.
If you like what you're hearing and would like to support Radio Free Los Angeles and the California Tax Limitation Committee, please call area code 626-792-1772, 626-792-1772, or kindly visit our website, catlc.net, catlc.net. You can also watch Radio Free Los Angeles on Facebook Live at radiofreela.us.
If you'd like to talk with Radio Free Los Angeles, the phone lines are wide open. 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. We're live, local, and here to talk with you. 866-870-KRLA.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Producer. We appreciate this is our first time tonight. We want to thank everybody here at the KRLA staff for being so welcoming and so very, very helpful. They're great guys. At least that's what they told me. All right. So, before we go ahead.
Oh, we want to encourage everybody out there to tune in, or to phone in, actually. Of course, you're already tuning in. Hello. To 866-870-5752. And keep your comments and questions flowing for us.
Right. Now, we told you early on that we are listener-sponsored, citizen-sponsored, rather, Patriot Radio here. We need your contributions. That's what makes this railroad go. We invite you to go to unitedwefund.org. UnitedWeFund, all one word, .org, O-R-G, and if you go there, you will see Radio Free Los Angeles. Give early, give often, be generous.
Yeah, and if you give now, we don't have to bore you with like a 90-minute Burt Bacharach special like on PBS or the Bee Gees from 1972. We'll actually give you real what you want to hear.
I know. Is PBS just the worst?
I know. It's like Rick Steves telling you how to travel in Europe.
I know.
5 times a day.
There's no audience left for him. And I think that whole network ought to just be taken over by Forest Lawn. Yeah.
Exactly.
You look out there, they have these gatherings, and everybody's just kind of dancing around. It looks like the pre-need program, where they have those seminars. They invite all the plate lickers, and try to sell them a funeral program.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it reminds me of. By the way, good time to give a shout out to Marcy Guzman and
exactly. Yes.
Sterling Contreras, who's helping with call screening tonight. Also, what's your name? Yeah, Jonathan Wilson. We've only been doing this since day one. Thanks, guys.
Exactly, our producer, and we're like blanking on him. Good job, Mike. Very professional.
I know. I was faking. I knew who it was. But sobriety is tough, isn't it, Carl?
Well, I wouldn't know, sir. Yeah.
But in any event, we appreciate all of that. And want to keep all of this stuff moving, but on the lighter side, Marcy Guzman's husband Guillermo is a musician, and he told me the story one time about being out at some place like the Lawrence Wolf Village or something. You're a musician, you got a gig, you go, you don't ask questions. So one of the guys is looking at the other, says, "What's the audience like?" And his buddy goes up to the curtain, parts it, sticks his head part way out, closes it back up, and tells Guillermo, he said, "Old people and their parents."
Oh my gosh.
That would be PBS.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So at any rate, they ought to just sell it off and have done with take the money back. Let's go. I want to talk to you about. You got a little bit of an introduction here. We're talking about the bad parts of government at its worst, and all government is pretty bad. And there's nothing any worse than plans and permits and regulations and inspections which are out of control at every level and add tremendously to the cost of housing. It was recently brought to my attention about a terrible situation in Ventura, California. As you know, a very large fire started in eastern Ventura County, basically in Santa Paula. They call it the Thomas Fire. Now, I don't know if that's because it originated near Thomas Aquinas College or whatever, but it spread rapidly west and ultimately went to the water. In the course of doing so, about 750 to 1,000 homes were totally destroyed, maybe more.
Tragic.
But 750 to 1,000 totally destroyed. And they just finally got the last part of the fire put out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So now homeowners, and some of them very affluent, totally wiped out. No house, no nothing, no nada. And they're staying in hotels, staying in motels, staying with relatives, staying in campers. Some of them just gave up and sold their houses and moved. Those who remained and who are determined to rebuild, got in touch with their insurance carriers. Well, let no crisis be wasted. The city people and the state people moved in quickly. There is a terribly inefficient state organization called California Recycle. Now, I know that's terribly redundant, but California Recycle, I'm not 100% sure what they do, but they've had a almost plenary role in the major fires and disasters that we've had here in the state. up in Santa Rosa, and now down here in Ventura. They were invited in by the city of Ventura. And what they do is a lot of remediation, a lot of debris removal, a lot of clearing of lots. They have a very high cost of doing that, probably as high as $90,000 per lot, although they will deny it. They put it out to bid to local contractors who came in on an apparently lower level. The winning bid was $27 million, but it was the kind of contract where that $27 million was just the beginning. They were competing, the state-sponsored, the winners of the state contract were competing against individual contractors who were trying to work with homeowners to clear their own lots. And some of these contractors, whom I know personally, up there in Ventura, worked immediately with the insurance companies and with the homeowners to file applications for permits so they could just get out there and remove the debris, remove what's left of the structure, remove some of the cement in the surrounding sidewalks. The details don't matter. What does matter is that the city delayed in promulgating the requirements for the permits, and even when they were promptly complied with, the city has failed and refused to issue permits. And the reason is that they wanted the California Recycle to be able to come in and bid. And what California Recycle is doing is that they're going to the individual homeowners and they're saying, hey, look, you sign up with me. You need to sign up by January 22nd. And if you don't sign up by January 22nd, well, then by golly, by February 8th, you are at risk. The city of Ventura will send in our own crews.
Wow.
Yeah, and you're gonna pay the full pop. If you go with California Recycle, you'll be protected. We guarantee that it won't cost you any more, but we'll just take your insurance proceeds. And I'm going to come back to you here in a second because there is the rub. But you people, you sign up now. Otherwise, we're going to come in it, we'll lien it, and heck, we might even sell your house. So the poor victims here are thinking they don't have any choice. Let me tell you, that February 8th deadline is phony because they don't have enough crews anywhere to get in there that fast and do it. But they're putting this artificial deadline on people so they will be stampeded into signing up with California Recycle thinking that they have protections, when in fact, if you look at what California Recycle is putting in front of them, the agreement that they're asked to sign, you find that agreement assigns your insurance proceeds to them, and that there's insurance proceeds will not always be limited to the portion of the policy that provides for debris removal. If the costs go higher, and we know that they're going to go higher, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, they always go higher.
Yeah.
If those costs go higher, then they're going to get access to the rest of your insurance policy and the proceeds. And now the worst part. So here's your situation. You've suffered the loss of your policy. You've got this government trash out there on your porch threatening you, trying to strong arm you into signing their contract. They won't deal with your own individual contractor. They won't even tell him what the fees or inspections are. They're waiving those same inspection fees and permit fees for California Recycle, but imposing them on private contractors. And now I hope you guys finished your meal, because I'm going to tell you something that you're going to gag on, and that is
what's that?
That some of those fire hydrants did not work out there. The city of Ventura quietly replaced some of them, and now they're telling private contractors that if you use our fire hydrants, we're going to put a meter on that. We're going to charge you about $4.50 per cubic foot of water, which means that each gallon of water will cost that homeowner 58 cents per gallon.
Wow.
Right? But now that those same prices are not going to be charged to the state people. This is a boondoggle, and we hope to have more information for you on it next week. And everybody there needs to call the city councilman, the permits, and tell them to stop it and stop it now, and let people out of these contracts and tell them the truth. And this is part of what we're about. Now, we have, before we leave tonight, we have one call from, who's it, Debbie? I want some clarification of Prop 47 language. Are you there, Debbie?
Hi. Yes, I am. I'm a little nervous because I'm just about to
Hey, got 1 minute? Go fast, Debbie.
Okay. I believe that there should be some kind of demand that propositions be written in clear language, plain language, because for Prop 47, which is about criminal sentences and misdemeanor penalties,
yes,
to be known by its supporters as Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act is unconscionable.
Yeah, Debbie, thanks. We only got 30 seconds, so let me answer you very quickly. I got the music coming up. That is a requirement and needs to be policed by the proponents of the proposition. Debbie, I hope you call us back again. Everybody, I want to thank you for joining us. Carl, thanks for being with me first night. And remember to go to radiofreela.us on Facebook and unitedwefund.org. Unitedwefund.org. Thanks very much. This is Mike Alexander, Carl Kozlowski signing off for Radio Free Los Angeles. Join us next week at the same time.